Hi, you're listening to episode, I believe it's 10 of Modcast. I'm Kris Takahashi, and with me today, as always, is Unoctium. Say hello.
Hello.
And our special guest today, Steelfeathers. How are you doing?
Hello, everyone.
What does that mean, Steelfeathers, by the way?
Well, a long time ago, way back yonder when, I was a huge fan of Transformers, and I was trying to come up with a screen name for the fanfiction I was posting.
Nice.
So it's like, well, I like feathered things, and then I like, steel for Transformers, so Steelfeathers, ta-da! And I've had it for, 12 years
Is
now.
Steelfeathers an Autobot or a Decepticon?
Definitely an Autobot.
Okay.
See, that sounds like a Decepticon to me.
No, I'm not one of the Decepticon scum.
Yeah, because they fly, right? Starscream, Steelfeathers, sounds like it goes hand in hand.
Well, see, in the canon, in the fanon of my fanfiction, there are no Autobot flyers because the war has wiped them out. Doesn't mean there never were.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Oh. So are you a fan of the movies then? You
No.
generally... Really, because they're such a work of art.
I don't know. Michael Bay can go jump off a cliff for all I care.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's ruined the love of my childhood
Well,
life.
you just don't want him to stop making movies. You also want him to just end his life permanently.
I mean, he
Well, I will take him just committing career seppuku and just quitting forever. But
I mean,
whatever gets him to stop.
you wanted him to
ruining
quit. He wanted to quit. Just the damn studio just kept making the fucking films over and over again. So, yeah.
There's a lot of self-hatred in those movies. So
Indeed.
It is always good to have a permanent solution, because you never know. He could say he's going to quit, and then, like 10 years down the line, you can get that itch again. But if he goes off that cliff, boom, done. You're all good.
I did see...
if he does fall off a cliff, I am not responsible. I'm just saying that right now. Might get my alibi in.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll just transform towards the bottom and just save himself somehow. I did see the second film, which I thought was the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life. But then I tried, so I couldn't actually watch the ones after it. Even reading the Wikipedia synopsis is kind of boring. I don't even know what's happening.
Yeah. But before the first movie came out, I was so excited. Every time a trailer came on TV, I would run downstairs as fast as I could to go see the trailer, because I was used to seeing the cartoons. In my mind, could not process the thought of it being a real live-action Transformer. I had no idea what that would look like, and it was just so exciting to me. And the first movie was okay, and then it just sort of went downhill from there.
Yeah. So you sort of felt like there was this disappointment in the first film to begin with, and then you just felt like, oh, it's getting bad.
Yeah, the first film was sort of interesting, but it was also really stupid in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like both the human characters and the Autobots got very short-shrifted in terms of, their characters and the plot they're in, and there was a lot of, bathroom humor shoehorned in because reasons, I guess. And the main character, Sam, was really stupid, and he did a lot of stupid teenage boy things that were not at all impressive. But the movie tried to frame it like it was super impressive, and it really wasn't.
So I reckon the
anyway,
height of Transformers is the 1986 film with Orson Welles in it.
No, I don't like that one either.
Really?
Yes.
We're running out of good Transformers here.
We just need a new Transformer movie.
I like the Prime cartoon, so I've never liked a movie. I just like the cartoon.
We just need a new Transformers with plenty of dinosaurs, because dinosaurs, as we've come to know, have feathers. And we could have Steelfeathers, and then you could have you write the whole thing and perform. And
I would love that.
Chris, you absolute noob. Anyone would know there's Dinobots in Transformers. God, jeez.
Anyways, let's
Okay.
get back on track, because we're here to talk about Steelfeathers and not Transformers. We're here to talk about your life.
Sorry about that.
No. We can segue to whatever you like. So tell us about yourself. Your background, how you got into modding.
Okay. First of all, hello. I'm female. I know that's unusual on the internet.
wow.
Or people think it's unusual.
Chris,
on the
did you know about this?
No, I didn't. It's a
Jesus
revelation to me. For the last 8 minutes, I thought we were talking to a guy. Muscles.
With just a really high pitched voice.
With big beard and just this is just a shock to me.
Well, you'd be shocked how many people I just chat with text on the internet who are stunned when I tell them I'm female. They're just like, no way, there's no girls on the internet, man.
You're clearly the first.
Yeah, so I am a professional game programmer / developer. Right now, I work on mobile casual games in Texas. Woo, yeah. Except not because Texas is really hot and I'm dying. But I really love my job. I went to school for mechanical engineering, but that really sucked and I hated it. So instead, I started doing programming instead. And now I'm a programmer who does games, which is like heaven for me. I have been modding for a very, very, very long time. I really enjoy it. Especially, Skyrim and Fallout 4, they own a very large part of my soul. There's like 60% of my soul real estate is owned by Bethesda. There's like a Bethesda logo stamped on it.
Cool.
I think we all signed that contract.
So your heart is just the Bethesda logo just sort of rolling into place, and then just
Yeah, just about.
I think when you load the creation kit, you have to like sign a EULA or whatever that. Half your soul goes to Bethesda, so we're all in that boat.
Yeah. So when I played Skyrim, I really liked it, and I decided one day. So I had originally had it on PS3, and I was just looking on the internet one day, as you do, going down the rabbit hole on Reddit, and I saw this mod that lets you wear Alduin's wings, and I'm just staring at this picture, and I think to myself, I've got to have it. I have to have it. So I went out and bought a copy of Skyrim for the PC, just so I could get a mod. So I started modding like crazy, just everything. I had more mods than you are allowed to have, and I had to try to combine them so I could have more. And then I said, you know what? I'm really not finding the exact thing I want. I want to make it myself. At that point, I had no idea how to mod. None. And so I spent literally an entire weekend, like 48 hours straight, no sleeping, figuring out how to mod. And then at the end of it, I knew how to mod, so that was great. And then I died because I hadn't slept for 2 days.
Did your mobile gaming experience help you there, as far as like figuring stuff out?
That was before the mobile gaming experience.
Okay. So this is the origin story. The modding is.
This is the origin story for my superhero arc.
Okay.
Is that weekend learning how to mod. But yeah, so I like doing a lot of different kinds of mods. I've been an artist my entire life. There's two parts of my soul. The part that's owned by Bethesda that does game programming, and then the other part of my soul is an artist. And so I got into making 3D art, and it's like it just kind of clicked because I always had trouble with 2D art, drawing comics and stuff, because it's like trying to take a 3D image and smash it down into 2D, and I found that really difficult to do. But it's the first time I fired up a 3D modeling program, and I could actually sculpt something in 3D. It's like, whoa, holy shit, this is awesome, and I understand it, and suddenly it makes sense. So,
see, I got the exact opposite feeling when I opened 3ds Max, just confusion and shame and misery to this day. Yeah, but continue. Sorry.
Don't worry, not everyone can be as blessed as me, and I won't hold against you.
I mean, even Tony Stark had to sleep in his origin story, right?
Well, my origin story didn't spend 3 months in the cave.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
I had Starbucks while I worked, so my misery was not complete. But yeah, so I've made a very large variety of mods, both art as in new armor and stuff. I've done like new creatures that are incorporated into my other mods, and I also have done a lot of big overhaul mods, specifically related to magic, because magic in Skyrim is my pet peeve, and has been for years. It sucks ass. It really does. So I've spent months and months of my life trying to fix magic and make it awesome, which resulted in my two big mods, which are Path of Sorcery and Lost Grimoire. Those have not been updated in a while, but I have been working on them behind the scenes.
Oh, wow.
Basically retooling them over and over again. So I've actually done a lot, but none of it is posted yet in an update, which I know people are like, oh my god, just update it already.
Well, first you started out with just the spells, right? Was it the Grimoire spell package?
Yeah, Lost Grimoire. Yeah.
So was that just a learning curve thing? Like you start out with spells, then you start figuring out how to like edit the tree and do the balancing, or is that just like how it went? Like I wanted to do this first, then do that next, or?
Well, I didn't start making Lost Grimoire with the aim of eventually making a perk overhaul.
Okay.
Like I just made it because I wanted to make spells. But I actually made two versions of Lost Grimoire. The really, really old one is dung, so I don't recommend that one. But the newer one, which is actually the second one because I'm working on the third one now, is much better, and mostly just because I wanted more spells. Is somebody clicking? I hear a lot.
Well, I'm just clicking through Lost Grimoire and all the pictures.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
all right.
I
just hear this really loud. Click more quietly, please.
So, like, also animals here, like a winged twilight, and like lots of wee creatures. Is that generally your focus? Were you upset that there wasn't enough summons, or was it just felt too limited, or?
Well, that too. I mean, one of my favorite playthroughs of Skyrim I ever had was I was a necromancer summoner illusionist, where I would sneak around and get people to fight each other and kill each other, and then raise the dead one to continue fighting the living one. Mm-hmm. And then occasionally, when you got into that oh shit moment where you're totally overwhelmed and your illusion spells aren't working, then I would just summon a bunch of Grimoire lords and etc. So it was actually a lot of fun. I really got into playing sort of the evil character, but as I approached like level 60, I'm like, you know what? Oblivion is full of stuff in lore, and I have very few stuff that I can actually summon. I'm supposedly like this big wig summoner conjurer, and I can only do like 3 Atronachs and a single Grimoire lord. It was kind of lame. So yeah, I have this obsession with trying to make new summons, new creatures that I can bring in. One of the problems though mechanically is that doing new animations, first of all, it's hard to just do animations. I don't know anything about animations, but to actually get them rigged up in the game, you have to have this behavior file that's basically the #1 mystery of Skyrim and Fallout 4 modding. It's like nobody knows how to do it. One person that we have in Beyond Skyrim knows how to do it, but nobody else knows how to do it. So if I'm making a new creature, it has to fit with the skeleton and animations of an existing creature. So people are like, oh, this just looks like a Frost Atronach. I'm like, well, yeah, it kind of looks like a Frost Atronach. I have to use the Frost Atronach animations. I don't have a choice.
Well, Skyrim has like limits on animations and and basically race animations. Without saying, but Fallout 4 doesn't actually have limits, so you can actually add as much as you want to Fallout 4. But as you said,
oh really? I was not.
Yeah, but as you said, there's been very few people know how to do it. So
yeah, well, it's kind of a moot point because I also can't make animations. So I tried once to animate a dog, and it just destroyed me. Like the legs were going in all different directions and moving all at once. It was a nightmare dog.
See, now you know how I feel when I just model a circle.
You have trouble with the circle. That's a little impressive.
I know.
I have to admit.
It's all lumpy and lopsided. No, just go ahead.
No, I just can't get the camera right, so it's like usually for all I know it's a square. So.
But anyway, yeah, that's sort of my spiel. I as I've mentioned a couple times, I have was invited to join Creation Club, which is actually a lot of fun. I mean, I know there's a lot of hate for it out in the community among certain people. But what they really don't see, I mean, I'm under NDA, so there's a lot I can't talk about. But what they really don't see is under hood is all of this is a great avenue for mod creators like me to do the thing we love and get paid for doing it. But anyway, so, I've had fun working in Creation Club, and I'm enjoying it. It's sort of like I ran around and screamed with my hands in the air when I got accepted, because it's like the greatest thing that happened to me in a very long time, besides being hired to work as a game developer. So,
but yeah, going back to your mods, Lost Grimoire Skyrim, you added 120 plus spells and balanced them. That's impressive. You're talking about just like adding all these different trees of magic and combining them. How difficult was it to sort of balance that with the combat? Because in general, like, Skyrim is an easy game. If you add too much power or too many skills, it can kind of like mess up the balance there.
Well, I did it by playing with it a lot. I made the mod primarily for me.
Okay.
And I used it all the time. So I would discover if something didn't work, or if it was strange, or just blah. And also, balancing Skyrim with mods is very difficult, because people can have every mod under the sun that makes it easier or harder, and people bitch at me and go like, oh, it makes it too easy, or oh, it's not good enough, and it's because they have all these other mods that change how difficult it is.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
For me, when I'm doing this, all I have installed is I have it on adept difficulty, and I have like one minor combat enhancer that just makes enemies a little bit smarter about how they hide and attack. Nothing like super over the top, no giant combat overhaul that makes it super difficult. So that's what I bounce around. And if people think that that's too easy, I don't really care. Skyrim is not Dark Souls. It's not supposed to be a combat challenge. That's not the point. So
exactly. It's supposed to be fun.
It's supposed to be fun. I don't want to die in Skyrim. That's not why I play Skyrim. If I die, I feel like something has gone wrong.
Yeah.
If you're one of those boring people who doesn't like fun, then go play vanilla Skyrim. Otherwise, download Steelfeathers.
Or if you're one of those people who likes the super hard challenge and dying all the time, go play Dark Souls. What are you doing at Skyrim? What are you doing playing Skyrim? This is not your game.
Like you mentioned it earlier, you do some 3D modeling. You also have a lot of like really nice like armor and gown pieces. What goes into like the design of that? Do you look at like existing models or pictures or anything like that, or do you just kind of go off the cuff? Or
well, kind of a lot of stuff. I troll through the depths of Pinterest and Artstation, and I find stuff. I'm like, ooh, that looks cool. I want to do something like that. Some of it I designed myself, so I've made my own concept art that I have then made, a piece of armor or clothing from that I designed myself. There's a lot of looking at historical references and like people's Ren Fair, costumes that they've made that are historically accurate. I don't know. I've always kind of liked fashion. I had Barbies, and my favorite part was just dressing them up in all kinds of different clothes. And of course playing with playsets. But anyway, so dressing with different clothes. I have physically made my own clothes with a sewing machine before. So I just have this thing about outfits and what you wear. Because, okay, so it's I'm going to get philosophical
yes,
here.
Please.
What we wear has a big part in defining how we identify ourselves. If you wear, a doctor's coat, you feel professional. You feel like a doctor. You wear like a soldier's uniform. You're ready to go into action and charge out of the barracks or whatever. And in video games too, a lot of what we think about our character is defined by what we're wearing. So we spend a lot of time finding the best, coolest armor set or coolest outfit that really expresses what our character thinks and feels and what their job is. So I find that very fascinating, and it's very true to me too. How that chameleon skin effect of changing what you're wearing, how it changes who you are. So I
like me, I'm dressed like a homeless man. So
does that mean you're a homeless man?
Pretty much. No, proceed. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So I'm just fascinated by all that, and I just love making clothes, and I can put them in a game and physically see my character wearing them around. Where it wouldn't necessarily work as well to try to physically make it, because then I'd be embarrassed to leave the house. But that ended up being how I got into Beyond Skyrim. I don't know if you guys knew that, but I'm in the Beyond Skyrim team, specifically for Cyrodiil. I was very briefly the art director for Cyrodiil.
Oh, nice.
I stepped down pretty quickly because it ended up being just too much to do, given everything else in my life. But, so I'm one of their 3D artists, and I make a lot of their clothing. Like, you play the Brumo mod that's been out for a while, and lots and lots of the outfits and clothing you see on people, and the fur armor that all the bandits are wearing, I made it.
Oh.
So, which is funny, because whenever I see it in the game, I always hate it.
Well, that's the way it is. I mean, usually as you get better at your craft and progress, you look back and you're kind of like, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that. And so there's always that kind of regret. But it's also a good thing because it's a sign of growth, I'd say.
Yeah, there's a lot of cringing when I look at someone else.
What's your, speaking up on that, what's your general thought on these big, huge mods? Like Beyond Skyrim Brumo, or like Skyblivion or something like that? Or Skywind?
Well, Cyrodiil, the team I'm on, I have sort of an inside perspective because I'm on the team and I talk to these people. So I think we're the only group that's actually going to make a mod and release it ever. Like, there are still, like, basically Tamriel rebuilt for, I don't remember if it's Oblivion or Morrowind. It's still ongoing. And how many years has it been?
Yeah.
So I think they're ambitious, and I applaud the people who are excited and want to work on it. But unless they actually get their act together as a team, they basically never produce anything that you can play.
So are you one of those people, whenever you see like a Skyblivion trailer or a Skywind trailer, you sort of quietly roll your eyes and go, that's never coming out, while everyone else cheers?
Well, No, well, I say, okay, that's cool. I will believe it when I can download it.
So,
because,
with
you know,
Bruma...
years go by and...
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say years go by and they never actually come out with anything playable, but go ahead.
So what was the difference with Bruma? Did they come to you after it was complete, or was it, like, during the process, or...?
Well, I joined on long before Bruma came out. I was just one day looking around on the forums on the Nexus mod site, and I'm like, you know what? This looks kind of cool. I saw like a post for Beyond Skyrim. So I went to their website, and I applied and said, hey guys, can I help out? And they said, sure. And then they discovered I can do 3D modeling, and they all went, ah!
Oh, so what did you apply for originally?
Scripting, because I'm a programmer. So I applied to do like implementation and scripting, and then they found out I can model, and I said, well, show us some stuff you modeled. So I showed them this dress I made, and they're like, ah! Because the reason I make the ah sound is because there's always a need for more 3D artists. It's so hard to find good 3D artists. So when I showed them some stuff that was acceptable, which I've gotten much better since then, but it was acceptable, and they're like, oh please.
Well, that's the thing. It distinguishes the mod as separate from Skyrim. When you have these like Colovian noble clothes and Colovian fur armor and stuff like that, it's just it's something you haven't seen before, and it comes like to the eyes fresh, and it's novel, so it makes you think, okay, I'm in a different land. So it's like really, really important for any of these like new land mods. Like sometimes you'll look at like another big mod, and they'll like, let's say it's like Fallout, I'm just gonna make something up, Fallout Alabama or something, right? And you look at the fucking trailer, and it does look a little bit different, but you can tell it's still a lot of Boston in
To
there.
be fair though, if they actually get to release, I'm
Yeah.
just like, yeah, it looks a bit like Boston, but you released, so well done, you know.
Oh, yeah,
Congratulations.
just releasing is a big deal. Yeah.
No, yeah, I mean, good on anybody who can actually get to release. That's a big step, and I definitely applaud them. But I agree with you that unless you have new assets, it does just look like, you know, more of the same.
Yeah.
So you started playing Fallout 4. I mean, what made you like that game, for example? So I know a lot of people played the earlier Fallout games, and then they played Skyrim, and they were like, "Oh, I'm the modder forever" and stuff like that. And Fallout 4 came out, and then they said, "I'm retired. Bye." What made you like get more into modding as a result of Fallout 4? Like, you know, what grabbed you?
Fallout is the only Fallout game I've played. Fallout 4, I mean. So I haven't played Fallout 3 or any of the earlier ones. Frankly, I don't really want to. I like Fallout 4. I don't know, like, I just saw a trailer for it. I'm like, that looks really cool. And then I bought it the night it came out. We were all waiting eagerly for the download, like counting down the seconds until we could actually load up the game. And then I played it, and I'm like, this is awesome. This is, like, really awesome. And I lost, like, a solid month playing this game. I'm still playing it now.
Did you at least sleep this time?
Yes, I slept.
Okay.
I didn't go a month without sleep, I promise. No, it's just, I mean, it's so different from the Elder Scrolls, but it's a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it. And now I never roleplay, basically, in Fallout 4. The depth you can get in terms of character immersion is pretty shallow. But I just enjoyed it because it was a lot of fun, and I liked the settlement building thing, which I know some people hate it, but I really liked it. So that was cool. And then my drive to mod Fallout 4 is not nearly as big as my drive to mod Skyrim. Like, Skyrim, I have 255 mods. Fallout 4, I have like 13. Mostly because I think there's a lot less that needs to be fixed about Fallout 4. Like, most of my Skyrim mods are just things that fix weird stuff.
There's no magic in Fallout 4. It's just guns.
Yeah, if there was magic, I would have fallen down that rabbit hole too. The one big mod I made for Fallout 4 was Beastmaster, which allows you to tame the creatures you catch in Wasteland Workshop cages. Because when Wasteland Workshop came out as a DLC, and it's like, hey, you can catch a Deathclaw in this cage, I'm like, oh, that's so awesome! I want a Deathclaw pet! And then I got my Deathclaw pet, and I couldn't do anything with it. I'm like, this is lame. So I'm like, I can fix that, and I did. And I'm very happy with that mod.
And it allows you to have a Deathclaw as a pet, the same as Dogmeat, like a follower, and...
Yeah, so Beastmaster covers every creature you can catch in cages, and I also had a small mod that allows you to catch more types of creatures in cages. So not only do they follow you around like Dogmeat, I created an entirely separate follower system specifically for these pets.
Oh, nice.
So theoretically, you could have Nick Valentine, Dogmeat, and your death dog.
Can you rename the pet as well?
Yes, there's a lot of features. You can rename them. You can equip them with like bandanas or saddlebags.
Oh, nice.
The ones that have like shells or scales, you can add a paint job to them. So like, you know, paint their shell or whatever. Like you can give the death claw like tribal painting marks. And they also have this happiness system where the more time you spend with them, the happier they are and the better their skills are.
It's tied to the same, what do you call the system for the followers in Fallout 4?
Affinity?
Affinity, there you go. Is it the same?
No, it's entirely new. I built it from the ground up.
Oh, wow. See,
well, I mean,
if it was me, I would just be lazy about it and just slap the vanilla affinity on there and say, yeah, it's good. But you went the extra
You can't
mile.
actually slap the vanilla infinity on
Chris
there.
has done it.
When you actually look under
Chris has done it, haven't you, Chris?
Huh?
Well, for NPCs, yeah. I've never tried it on animals, but I assume it's the same, right?
Well, yeah, I guess that's my point. You can't do it for animals.
Oh, okay.
See, I looked at one look at that
given
affinity. Chris basically told me how to use it months ago, and I'm still like, I'm not using that, for God's sake. What the hell?
But basically, it's not designed with non-voiced characters in mind, and certainly not with what I want to do with animals. The happiness determines how good they are in battle. You can also ask them to do tricks, and they'll like play their special animation. You can give them treats. You can make treats for them at like the cooking pot and give them treats, and then the treats will like enhance their abilities for a certain period of time. You can make syringer ammo that when you shoot it with them, it gives them like a power-up, like a really powerful power-up, but it decreases their happiness because they're like, what the hell, man? You just shot me.
It sounds like you're giving them drugs.
Yeah, exactly, basically. So I also started working, this is not released, but I also created this training system where your animals will earn experience points the same way you will, and when they level up, you can choose a perk for them from, you know, their own set of unique perks. That is not finished and not released. I don't know if it ever will be. I kind of lost inspiration for it, but the version I play on, it's functional, but nobody else gets to have it but me.
Yeah, I first.
Are you a fan of
sorry,
pets?
Chris.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I was gonna say, are you a fan of pets? Do you own pets at home?
I have 2 kitties, and they're both staring at me right now, wondering what I'm doing. But yeah, I like animals. I like pets. I'm a fan of sort of the Beastmaster class in an RPG. Like, I like the idea of triumph by preparation, where the preparation is getting my creature and beefing it up and making it awesome, putting armor on it, and then just sick 'em, boy, and it goes and like and eats my foes, and I don't have to do anything, which is great.
Isn't that like Pokemon though?
Yeah, it's kind of like a little bit like.
You're saying
Pokemon.
that like it's a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing, not to me.
It's not at all. Pokemon is awesome.
It really is. Well, there are some people who I see their posts and are like, oh, I want to get right up and personal, and I don't like things that play it for me. And I'm like, yeah, but I just want to stand back and watch my pack of wolves like tear these people apart, and me just kind of confidently stride through without having to even lift my sword.
Again, you want to challenge, play Dark Souls.
Yeah, if you want to challenge, go play Dark Souls.
What's the worst comment you've ever gotten? Say Nexus or Bethesda if you're on it.
Ooh,
I think it was the middle finger you just got in our Discord.
No, that is not the worst. That is not the worst.
Who the hell was that? I banned them already. So, Virginia,
Darn
for
if
those
I
who
know.
don't know, Virginia steps into our Discord and somebody immediately drops her a middle finger emoji. Some guy named Martel, I don't know, but I banned him quick. Anyways, on Nexus.
Well, on one of my outfits one time, I got this really entitled guy who came in, and it was like, you know, you need to put out body slide files. And I'm like, I only do stuff for vanilla body. I don't really care about body mods, whatever. And then he basically got all up on my case being like, you know, it's now public property. You know, we own it now that you've posted it. You know, you're required. And I'm like,
What?
Screw you, dude.
There was once a guy that posted like 6 comments, and like the worst thing happened because I was so pissed off. I redesigned the entire mod in a night, and then posted it. So So that was probably the worst thing to do, but unfortunately he got to me so badly that I did something like that. So to be fair, I've fixed my bad scripting, so there you go. But yes, I think when people post the pardon?
No, I was saying, in general, I think it's a good idea to just never read the comments.
Yeah, I wish there was a way to turn off the comments, like just post it.
Yeah, but I don't have bug reports on my mods because everyone just puts like post something retarded, so I have to actually get the bugs from the comments. So I have to wade through like actual problems. So, but I don't put bug reports on my comments, so I have to look at the comments. So.
Yeah, basically my philosophy now is I've been working in programming and game dev for a long time now. Well, programming much longer than I have game dev. So I'm very used to having to unit test and QA my own stuff, and I've gotten pretty good at sussing out most of the issues. So it's like I basically ignore bug reports unless I see like 4 people saying the same thing. Because usually if one guy just says, nothing works, well, dude, you did something wrong. I promise you it does work if you do it the right way.
Well, even if he didn't do anything wrong, nothing works doesn't explain anything. Like
it doesn't. Oh my god, that's my biggest pet peeve. Like I'll have people just be like, "Mod doesn't work, 0 out of 10." I'm like, well, that doesn't accomplish anything.
It's not constructive at all. It doesn't help you narrow down the issue. It's just bitching for the sake of bitching, I guess. Like
Yeah.
That's because a lot of these people just come straight from Steam where they get like things fed to them. So I mean that's modding now, I think.
Yeah. Well, the stupidest encounter I had is I posted Beastmaster on the Bethesda forum, so that I ported it to, I think it was Xbox. So I ported it to Xbox, posted it on Bethesda.net, and you can't have a very long description on Bethesda.net. So the description was basically like one line in bold that says, you must have these 2 DLCs to use this mod, right? It's just right there, very visibly. And yet I got like 5 people being like, it doesn't work, it says I'm missing a file. I'm like, oh my god! How much more obvious do I have to make it?
I once got banned from Bethesda
anyway.
because someone thought I stole my own mod from Nexus.
Oh, yeah.
I had to message Cartography and said it happened again, I got banned again, put me back on, please. Yeah.
And then there's like some people who just hold a vendetta against you for whatever reason.
Yeah, you get these people. I've had one for 3 years, just dropping my name on Twitter all the time, saying like, "Oh, it's a nice day today," and Unoctium's mods are the worst. Yeah, okay.
Just because, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just mod drama. I think like the best thing to do is just. I mean, it's hard because you want to look for bug reports. You want to look and get constructive feedback. But to find those like 1 or 2 comments, you have to like wade through like an ocean of shit and bile. And it's just like, you gotta, at some point I just made a business decision that like, or a mental health decision that I wasn't going to read any of the comments if something was urgent enough that they would make their way to my website, because like the website isn't as popular. It kind of serves as a filter. I have a bug report thing on my blog, and it kind of serves as a filter for people who don't really play all that often, or who are less, I guess, kind or just normal human beings. So if I get something there, I know that someone's made an effort to report it and has at least some decency in like the way they speak or something. But like Nexus, I just don't even look anymore. So it's just I
have to admit, I haven't posted a new mod in a long time. Mostly because I hate the process that I go through after posting it, where I have like this crash of depression after posting. Mostly because of the comments that I get or the comments that I don't get. Because, I spend so much time and effort making a mod, and I love it, it's my baby, and then I post it, and one of 2 things happens. Either one, I get a lot of BS comments, and then, like nobody... It's just all like, oh, it doesn't work, or oh, this is weird, or I don't like it, or oh, you're copying my thing, which that just drives me crazy. Or the part that kills me is I spend so much time and effort, I post something awesome, and nobody cares. That is so disheartening. That just kills me.
But people do care. You have thousands of endorsements for your spell mods and overhauls, as well as collectively for your clothes and armor, and they all look great. So people love you. People love your work.
I know, I'm just a sad, petty person. No. I post a new outfit on the...
But no, it's true, though. Don't you feel like that, even if you get like 1,000 endorsements, if there's like one negative thing, it hurts you more.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's like I can have like 1,000 good comments, and then this one really shitty person posts, and it just ruins everything.
I think it's because human beings are kind of wired like that. You're wired to kind of have the negative things stick or hurt more because that's your way of improving normally. Like just like positive feedback doesn't necessarily help you as well as negative feedback. The problem is that negative feedback isn't constructive. So I think like we're just wired to have negative feedback hurt more. It's just that the problem that exists today is like a lot of it is just nonsense, and so like taking it in, it doesn't help us improve.
Well, when someone says positive feedback, you already know that. So if someone says your mod's amazing, you go, I know. Yeah. Or say you're a great modder, I know. So if someone says something contrary to it, you're just like, well, what's this guy's not got the picture, or maybe he knows something you don't know. Or something. So yeah.
And then it turns out that he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah. So actually, really kind of an interesting incident that happened is I posted this quick mashup called Arcane Conjurer Rose, and it was I just made an outfit for my Necromancer, just really quickly whipped it together, posted it, and this guy comes along and he says, "Yeah, you totally stole my thing and reposted it, but that's okay, I forgive you." I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, listen, this is obviously my outfit, and you took it and reposted it. It's fine, I'm not gonna report you. I'm like, oh my god.
Are there ways to like see whether something was taken or not? Because is there like a fingerprint or some kind of evidence system that can be used?
What I told him is I said, open up both meshes in like Blender or Max or something, and you'll see that the vertices don't perfectly overlap because they're not actually the exact same mesh. I mean, they are both mashups, but obviously in moving the pieces around, the positioning is going to be slightly different. So if it was an exact copy, you would load both of them into Max, and they'd be an exact overlap, right?
Right.
Which obviously could not possibly be the case because I created this from scratch, and I guess incidentally I happened to use the same pieces he did, which I don't care. His mod was, I never saw it, so I guess it's not, a big deal. So I didn't even know. But yeah, that's the only way I can think of to see is someone actually stealing it. We in Beyond Skyrim, there were a couple of incidents where I had to, when I was the art director very briefly, there was a few incidents where I had to go look at someone's submitted asset because there was some suspicion that it was like taken from another game, particularly like Oblivion or something else, because it's like, this looks just like this picture. And so that's what I did is I would open it up and say, okay, is this an exact match or is it a very careful recreation?
Yeah, I had that problem on the Fallout 3 port, or the Fallout 3 Capital Wasteland thing, the basically building Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. Basically, people would submit 3D models, and everyone would go, "Oh, that's amazing! That looks exactly like the old one." And it seemed like I was the only one that went, "Maybe it is the old one." So we actually had to. I didn't, and that's the last thing you need because I don't know anything about 3D modeling. So like people had to go into Nivscope and then had to go into Max to check if the tries aligned and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that tended to happen.
Yeah. Like
2 weeks after we took them on. So God.
Yeah. Well, a quick and dirty way to check is if you go into Nivscope and open up the NIF file. Hi, kitty. Sorry, cat's in the way. Cat interruption. If you open up the NIF file and you look at the positions, the triangle positions, and you like look at the first 10 and then the very last 10, if they're all identical, odds are that it's identical. If you see some variation, then you're like, okay, this might be different here. It's also a good way to check for when you're making, like in Skyrim, when you have to make the 0 size body and the 1 size body for an outfit, those triangles have to align. Otherwise, you'll get the vertex exploding issue. I don't know if you guys have ever seen pictures of that, but it's kind of funny. Sorry, tangent.
Well, I mean, like the only person, like it wouldn't be an issue if Bethesda didn't have this policy, which I don't begrudge them at all for having it. But like, there's other companies like EA and Warner Brothers who are just like, oh, we don't care if you port our stuff because like we don't like it just doesn't occur to them that they're losing money, so they just let you have it. But Bethesda, like for other people, they should know it's not ours. We would love to port everything to the next game on Warmers, but we can't because that's the policy. So,
Well, it actually makes a lot of sense from their perspective, right? Like, take Skywind, right? So I don't know if they've updated recently, but a few years ago there was this big controversy where Bethesda's like, you can't post this mod on any of our affiliates because you're taking Morrowind assets and putting them into Skyrim, which in effect is a way of getting things from Morrowind without having to buy Morrowind. Which, from their perspective, that makes a lot of sense. It's like you're stealing from a game that someone has not bought yet. Which is also why, if, say, you're making a mod for Skyrim, and it's using, like, the Death Hound from the Dawnguard DLC, you have to have it require Dawnguard as a master file, because otherwise you're basically ripping the Death Hound from Dawnguard and putting it into the base game for somebody.
But still, that doesn't stop people. Like, I still find it strange that, like, Warner Brothers, like, if you port the Batman outfit from Arkham Asylum or something like that, and you put it directly into Skyrim or Fallout 4, Warner Brothers don't give a damn. Like even their community manager would tell you, I don't have to consult anyone, take it. So it's just, I guess because Fallout 3 or Fallout 4 or Skyrim or Oblivion are just so similar games that they just have to stop. Something like that, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what Warner Brothers is thinking. Maybe they think that because modders don't make any money, it doesn't really matter.
Could be that, yeah. 47 minutes. Do you miss the mod drama? Do you miss it a little bit?
The mod drama? Maybe slightly. There's a kind of a heady rush when you release something and people love it and it gets to hot files. I will dance around my living room with my hands in the air when that happens. So it is kind of awesome. Mostly now though, I feel like I'm kind of coasting until ES6 comes out, and like I'm hoping.
Yeah, but remember the days working Reddit where something would have like 1,500 upvotes, and you're just thinking, what's going on? You know?
Yeah, it's like, what just came out that has so many upvotes?
Oh, one thing we didn't talk about is you also do a little bit of writing, you've told me, and
Yep.
Have you incorporated that in any of your previous mods, or are you looking to maybe do like a bigger mod or possibly even a creation? Story based?
Writing. Yeah, so writing is not just like reading the books in the game, right? So that's not the only kind of writing. Writing is also the quest descriptions and the spell text descriptions. So there's actually, writing is a skill that comes into play basically everywhere unless you're making just an outfit, right?
Right.
So in my mod so far, the perk descriptions and the spell descriptions, they're all very carefully crafted, and I change the wording and rewrite it to try to make it clearer or more interesting. So writing really comes into play there. But yeah, in my past, I told you I wrote Transformers fanfiction, but I have been one of the hats I wear.
Please provide
writer,
links to that in the description.
I can provide links to my Transformers fanfiction.
Please do. The world needs to see it. Michael Bay needs to see it.
Hey, there was a period of time a while back when I was like super popular among the Transformers community as a fanfiction writer.
That's some clout. We go into one of those Transformer fanfiction like forums or whatnot. Everybody's gonna know you. Nobody's gonna know us.
Hey, I still get people who message me directly, being like, "Oh my god, I love that story you put out 8 years ago."
There you go.
So
it never dies. Keep going. Just stop the video game stuff and keep writing Transformers fanfiction.
Yeah. You missed your true calling there.
Maybe I'll swing back around eventually. I do a lot of things. I'm a Renaissance woman. I have a lot of interests, so maybe one day.
Oh, one question I want to ask is probably the quite boring question, to be fair, so everyone could just tune it now. But what games do you play casually? Like, do you play your mobile games casually, or do you find, are you fans of console or PC type games, or?
I have quite a few diverse interests. Like, I play some casual games on my phone, like Cookie Cat's Pop has got me hooked recently on my phone. But I also like a lot of hardcore games, obviously Skyrim, Fallout 4, duh. I also got really into this indie game called Ziggurat that I really liked. Everyone should look it up. It was available in a Humble Bundle. It's a lot of fun. Let me see. What else did I really like? This is always a hard question. One of my favorites is always Spyro Year of the Dragon. I really enjoyed that one. There's a SpongeBob game that came out with years ago that's a lot of fun. Oh my god, you're putting me on the spot with questions about what games I like.
Are you looking forward to Fallout 76? Just to narrow it down entirely, are you looking forward to that kind of game, or does it feel like the multiplayer aspect is a bit too far for you?
I have mixed feelings. So a lot of the game looks awesome, but I am sort of diehard single player. Like, I don't want to have to deal with other people getting in the way of me playing a game. So I basically never play multiplayer ever. So they have said in several interviews, Todd Howardson said in interviews, that there will eventually be some sort of option for private servers where it can be just you and your friends, or perhaps just you. So that may be more fun. Like, I could just have the entire world to myself, which would satisfy my need to be queen of all creation. I don't know. I have mixed feelings. I guess I'll see what happens when it comes out.
Have you played ESO? And
I was actually in the beta for ESO.
Oh, okay.
The problem I have is that my internet is not always reliable, so I got disconnected a lot and eventually gave up in disgust. But I am a big fan of Elder Scrolls Legends, the card game.
Is that fun? Is it like Hearthstone, or is it... Like, I've never played it.
It's like Hearthstone, but better, which I know that will get some people going, oh! But yeah, I think it's better than Hearthstone in a lot of ways. But it has the same thing. Animated cards, the cards talk, they make big explosions when you put them on the board. Lots of cool, interesting powers and gameplay. They put a couple twists on the formula that's set up by Hearthstone that I think improves it a lot. They have like this 2-lane system, and they can have like special lane modifiers. Like, one of them is a shadow lane where the first turn your monster is put out, the other person can't attack your monster directly. So there's things like that. There's a lot of twists. It can be really challenging. It's sort of a great game for exercising my brain, because there's just so much strategy and so much thinking that can go into it. And the cards are interesting, and of course it's Elder Scrolls themes, which, you know, really tickles all my sweet spots.
Do you have to buy the cards? Like, how much money have you spent on Elder Scrolls Legends so far?
More than I want to admit
like
to.
£100? $100?
You're on the low end right now.
Are they worth something though? I mean, aren't like Magic the Gathering cards like valuable, like trading cards and stuff?
Well, this is obviously a game on my phone, so I can't actually physically trade the cards.
See, I don't know.
So if our phone falls down like the toilet or wherever, that's...
Wait, aren't there virtual cards though,
Yeah.
that have like rarity?
Yeah, you can buy virtual card packs. The thing I like about Elder Scrolls Legends, though, is that it is very possible to get to top-tier tournament status without spending a dime. You can earn coin packs fairly quickly. It's not too difficult or too grindy to get more of them, and all the cards are useful. So it's not like the most useful cards are locked behind a paywall. Now, I paid more money than I want to admit to, because I was excited and I wanted to get more cards, and I'm like, hey, it's my birthday, I'm going to buy a bunch of card packs.
Hey, YOLO.
Well, that's the thing, right? You say it's, hey, it's my birthday, hey, it's Christmas, hey, it's Wednesday.
Hey,
like
you
10
gotta
cards.
live it up.
Hey, it's 3 a.m. and I should be sleeping. Let me buy card packs.
Can't
instead.
take it with you when you die. It's what the pharaohs found out back in Egypt.
Exactly. I mean, what else am I gonna do? Have my coffin lined with gold?
Yeah,
I mean, that doesn't.
I mean, yeah,
doesn't
you can
accomplish
just
it.
model it. And I can model a square to fall asleep in when I die. Yeah.
Alright, any other questions you got? Should we wrap this
I'm
up?
good, I think. So we're coming up for an hour, so
Yeah,
the kids are all
it was
probably
a
tuning out
pleasure
if we talk
having-
about anything else.
Yeah. It was a pleasure having you on Steelfeathers. You promised us singing.
Oh my god! I thought you were gonna bring that up.
So, you mind singing us out?
So forgive me if I don't remember all the words. Oh, there once was a hero named Ragnar the Red who came riding to Whiteburn from old Rorikstead. And the braggart that swagger and brandished his blade as he told of the battles and gold he had made. But then he went quiet, did Ragnar the Red, when he met the shield maiden Hilda, who said, "Oh, you talk and you lie and you drink all our mead. Now I think it's high time that you lie down and bleed." And there was slashing of steel, and I don't remember the
Yeah,
words.
that was awesome. No, that was great. Thanks again for coming on Steelfeathers. Everybody give her a hand. That was amazing.
I'm a Skyrim
Yay.
NPC clapping.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's the lamest clapping I've ever seen in my life. But I guess my song deserved it. But anyway.
All right, but yeah, thanks again for coming on. You were a great guest.
No problem.
And we'll talk soon.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, and we're back again. Addendum to last week. One more thing we forgot to talk about was, Virginia, your programming experience, because you did mention that you are a programmer in the gaming industry.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your background in that and how you got your job at the mobile game company.
So I believe I said earlier that I ended up liking programming in college, so I ended up studying that, and I've always loved, video games too, so I invested a lot of time and effort on my off hours teaching myself how to program games. I started off in Visual Studio building a game engine from the ground up. I actually built this 2D RPG, and I created an entire game map editor for it from scratch. And I created like an entire animation system for all the sprites. And once I had like 70% of the engine built, I completely ran out of steam. I'm like, this fucking sucks. And then I found Unity, which was like 1,000 times better. I'm like, why did I ever waste so much time doing that? But it ended up being a good thing because it really familiarized me with a lot of what goes in under the hood to making various game engines work. And it was actually really good practice for learning how to be a programmer. I am entirely self-taught for programming.
Wow.
I did not go to school for it.
Wow.
I've never had any classes in it. I just learned it all myself because I was interested and I wanted to know how to do it.
Do you focus mostly on game programming, or do you do software as well?
Well, I mean, before game programming, I was just general software.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, under the hood, game programming is not necessarily all that different from regular programming.
It's just a different language?
Well, it's not just language. I mean, game programming can use... God, you could use Fortran if you wanted. You could use any programming language. So what makes games different is the design that goes into them, the actual game design. Like, for instance, I worked at a building controls company, and I made software for controlling like the climate system of large buildings. And the actual programming part was a different language, but it was basically the same sort of logic you get in a video game. The difference was, for the building control system, if it was functional, it was done, right? Whereas for a game, okay, yeah, this screen works, but it's not interesting. I get bored. There's a lot of clicks, so we have to redesign it.
Oh, okay.
So it's really the macro, not the micro, that differentiates game design as a software art.
And there's also an art to like making it efficient, I imagine, as well.
Yeah. So I'm a front-end programmer. So I do UI, I do mechanics, I do game systems. What I do not do is writing the engine. I don't write the code for multiplayer servers. I don't write the rendering code. So I don't write like the lighting engine. What I do is I say, okay, we want to create a quest system. So how are we going to script our quest system? Like if I had worked on Skyrim, I would have been like, okay, we need to make a system for Radiant quests where it's randomized where the location is and who has the item and what the item is. And my task would have been creating the Radiant quest system. I would not have been like making, how it loads cells or how it renders the lighting. That would not have been what I was doing. So optimization and efficiency, I mean, I do have to worry about it, but it's much less of a concern for me.
Oh, that's good. Because it's more of a creative thing. If you're developing a system, developing like a quest system and how that works and how that like affects gameplay, that to me sounds like it'd be fun. Trying to figure out how to save like a nanosecond here and there, that I kind of just ignore when I'm doing my proprietary scripting. I'm just, if it works, it works.
Yeah, that's kind of my point. It's like I don't have to worry about if one way of doing a function is like a millisecond faster than another way of doing it, because I'm only going to be calling it maybe a couple times a second. Yeah. I'm not going to be calling it 1,000 times per second. It does not matter. So I really enjoy what I do. When I was a kid, I hated programming. I hated computers. I'm like, I'll never do anything with computers. This sucks. And I basically did a complete 180. And now I'm all about computers. Like, if I have a problem with my computer and I call a helpline, I have often given advice to the people on the helpline.
Oh, nice.
Like, there was one time I was having trouble with this network connectivity for an auxiliary device I had bought for my computer, and I called this guy, and I ended up schooling him on network communication because I knew more about it than he did.
Speaking of which, that is something I do want to talk about, because there is a big stereotype regarding like programming as just a bunch of like dudes, nerds, and there aren't many women in the field. And you yourself,
Yeah.
as living proof that stereotype doesn't hold, what have your experiences been like, positive or negative, as far as like getting in the industry and working in the industry?
It's been mixed. Now, it's not like every day is some nightmare land where everyone hates me because I'm a woman. That's certainly not true. Yeah. But occasionally things do happen that kind of make me sit back and go, that was mean, or that was odd. Why did it? So it's hard because people think that sexism is only the guy slapping your butt, or it's only the guy sending you a dick pic, and it's not. It can be completely unconscious. Like, a guy thinks he's perfectly, liberal and he's good to women, and he does these things that he doesn't realize that he only says them because he's saying them to a woman.
Right. And that's almost harder to parse. If there was somebody who was just completely sexist up front, you kind of know. But then if it's something unconscious that's driving their decision, they can almost justify it as, oh, you're not good enough, or you're not this, or whatever, when it's really this bias that's driving the decision, right?
Yeah, they always have some other reasoning for why they did it, Mm-hmm. They don't want to think to themselves that maybe I wouldn't have reacted the same way to a guy. Like, for instance, one of the last places I worked, the form of discrimination I experienced most often, it was kind of insidious because no one really realized it was sexism. So people weren't treating me like I was a sex object. They were treating me like I was a child. There was this infantilization that was going on. And it was even happening to other women I worked with, which there weren't very many of us, but it was even happening to other women I worked with who were like 45 years old, So it had nothing to do with our age. Like, for instance, I'll tell people that, hey, I did karate for 8 years. I was a black belt candidate. And they laugh. Like, they don't believe me. Like, no way. You can't, no. Yeah, here, punch me right here. You can't punch me hard, Like, they would never say that if a guy had said, I did karate for 8 years. They'd be like, oh, cool, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think I read an article, it's sort of related, where a basketball player, a professional women's basketball player, would have men come up to her and say, oh, I bet I could take you one-on-one. Just random men on the street.
Yeah.
There's a woman who's trained her whole life, a professional at the highest level, and she's getting constantly, every time a man finds out what she does for a living, it's like, oh, I bet I could take you. It's just...
It's like, no, you really couldn't, dude. No. So there was that, and for instance, my work would be double checked more than the guys was, just things like that. Nothing that people can obviously point to. Or there was this one really humiliating incident where we were in this training class, and I was sitting next to this guy. God, this guy was such a jerk. And we were talking about where we wanted to go to lunch, and I was saying I was hungry. And I kid you not, he reached over and tickled my tummy and said, "Oh, are you hungry?" Like, in a baby. I sat there and I just stared at him, and I'm just thinking to myself, how dare you touch me? What the fuck is wrong with you? So that sort of insidious sexism could take a lot of different forms. In that case, he wasn't touching my boob, he wasn't calling me sexy or whatever, but there was still this element of, you are lesser because you're female or whatever. Yeah, I don't know what was in his head. It was odd.
And I think there was like a perfect example. I linked you the article at the Riot games where a female programmer, I forgot what she was, programmer or executive, I'm not sure which, but she introduced an idea that she thought would be good for the game. She really believed in it, and they kind of like laughed her out of the room. And then a week later, she just conducted like her own experiment. She had a male friend present the exact same thing to the same executives, and they loved it. So that's basically like an obvious example of where that unconscious bias lies, where they're probably using a different reason to explain it away when it's the exact same presentation. So it obviously has to be gender that's playing a role here.
Well, something that's also happened to me, this came up relatively recently, is I'm not a shy person. I will say what I think, and
I can vouch for that.
But and I got taken aside and basically told that I need to shut up because I'm talking too much. And I was very upset about this, and sort of later I was thinking about it, and in meetings, the other guys, they frequently interrupt each other. I mean, it happens all the time, or they interrupt me, but if I interrupt them, suddenly it's this horrible thing, like, you're so bad at team communication because you did the same thing we're all doing to each other. And it just really galled me, because I think that was actually the first time in my professional experience that anyone had actually told me to shut up.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's just not cool. Like, in any environment, especially a work environment, you know.
Well, I mean, he didn't use the word shut up, but it boiled down to...
I mean, it was just basically the work translation of shut up.
Yeah, so, it was the work, you know, run it through the speech filter for work environment, and exactly. That's the result. So that still kind of bothers me.
We're going to need to touch base about our communications issues.
Yeah, basically. So, I mean, it's things like that. Or I had a minor issue. You brought up that article where the woman's idea was dismissed until a male presented it. Something like that has happened to me. I had this idea for an improvement to our product, and I made a whole presentation about it, and I was excited about it. And I showed it off, and they're like, okay. And then I was talking to one of my colleagues about it, and he's actually a nice guy, and he was helping me. You know, we were just discussing it. And then a while later, he presented his version of my idea, which was more refined and had more details in it, and they loved it. I thought it was great. Like, let's do that. And I'm like, that's the thing I just did. That's my head.
So we talked about how this sort of institutional like bias exists, and you know, how it like permeates throughout society. But like, what's the reason for it? Because people aren't born with this kind of bias. Right, so is it the media?
Well, yeah.
I mean,
there's a lot of influence. So I've done a lot of reading on this and a lot of thinking on this. And unfortunately, it's one of those groundswell issues that comes from a lot of places. You can't just remove the media, or you can't just remove porn and it goes away. It's everywhere. We reinforce it all the time to ourselves. It's sort of this persistent idea that's reflected back to us all over the place that men are somehow more human than women are. That to be a woman is to be the other. You see it in medicine, where the default patient is a male. The default drawing in medical textbooks is a guy, right? The default symptoms for a heart attack, they're male symptoms, not female symptoms. We call it men and women. We are the other from the man. If you go to get health insurance, you're having female health issues is considered a special needs. You know, like that's considered an extra. You know, even though we're half of the population, it's considered extra that we have female genitalia. Or like, you know, Viagra is government funded for the military, but birth control is not. So, and, you know, in all our creation myth, it's always the creator God. You know, Adam was created first, and then, Eve was just a part of his rib. She wasn't a full person, and she was just made to be his companion anyway. And, you know, all the gods, there used to be lots of female goddesses, and then there was like this, huge Indo-European migration thousands of years ago, and this cult of the sky god swept through, and you see it in the myths where like the sky god like eats the mother god, and it's really reflected in culture where suddenly everything is about the man. You know, everything good and right is male, and everything feminine is bad or duplicitous or dark. You know. Or anything that is thought of as being female is thought of being bad. Like, for instance, when computers first got started, like the very first programmers, before there were even computers, they were women. I don't remember her name, but I think it was...
Ada Lovelace?
Yes, that's her. I was thinking Lace or something, but Ada Lovelace. Very first programmer coming up with the logic for computers. She was a woman. Some of the very first computer programmers on the old clunky machines, they were women. But as soon as it started being cool... men came in and said, oh yeah, this thing is awesome, it's now a man thing. And I've had a guy tell me before that women were not suited to computer programming because I guess computers are inherently masculine somehow, which doesn't make any sort of sense to me. And we teach our children this from birth. There are boy toys and there are girl toys. The boy toys, they're doing jobs, they're building things, and the girl toys are, we're going shopping, we're going to cook this food, you know. So we tell ourselves at every turn that to be female is wrong and to be male is right. So are we really surprised that when we get into the workplace, people have this bias that if a woman is doing it, it might be wrong somehow?
Yeah.
So, sorry, that's my soapbox.
As opposed to when I do it, it's always wrong. But no, but I totally agree. I think it's just there's an overwhelming like institutional, deep-rooted bias, not just in this discrimination towards women, but race.
Oh yeah.
Like things that are just deep-rooted into especially American society.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say America's just a very polarized place. It isn't necessarily replicated internationally. To be fair.
Yeah, I can't speak for other countries, but because we consume so much media nowadays, I feel like that's sort of the best way to kind of like create a cure for it. Because like I know of Ada Lovelace because I saw her mentioned on a TV show. I think like I didn't go and look up the history of computer programming. I'm too lazy for that.
Yeah.
But I'm not lazy enough to watch *Halt and Catch Fire* or some TV show and get exposed to that way.
Well, one really interesting example is, you know, the childhood rhyme of Suji sells seashells down by the seashore? It's actually the rhyme made from the true life story of the woman who basically founded paleontology. She was in England, and there was this beach she went to that she'd find these fossils just on the rocks in the beach, right? And she started cataloging them and scientifically going through them. And she tried to publish these papers, but she couldn't make any money out of it because no one wanted to admit her to the Royal Society in England because she was a woman. And male colleagues would take her research, put their own name on it, and publish it to great acclaim. And basically, she ended up having to go and just open a shop selling seashells because she could not make any money or get any notice off of her work, basically founding paleontology. And nobody ever talks about her. And there's so many examples of that, of women doing things in history that make history, and they are just very conveniently left out of the history books. And then kids read the history books and they think, oh, only men have ever done anything important, therefore only men are important. So like it's very self-reinforcing.
Well, I just figure like sometimes it could be, sometimes it's really like nuanced and strange in a sense. Because on one hand, I feel like that's really intense in America because America is such a polarized place where it's always one against one. It doesn't really matter which side's named what. They're just two sides just going at each other for whatever reason just to win. But it's like, you know, Muslim countries that have just basically just given women rights. There's like almost a 50% graduation rates when it comes to computer science. Ironically enough, in countries that are meant to be oppressive to women.
But that is true.
But in places like in places like Sweden and Norway, it's like the female graduation in computer science and most engineering is like really low, despite the fact there's equal societies. So there's these strange patterns throughout the world.
That's what like Virginia was talking about, is that it's not like the obvious discrimination that, like, you know, we might think that we're forward-thinking, that we're more forward-thinking than X country because, oh, they don't grant the obvious rights, right? But institutionally, we still have a long way to go.
Actually, yeah. I have a thought for you to consider. So consider this. Let's pick on Saudi Arabia, which has, I believe it has more female elected representatives than we do. Consider the fact that they have a guardianship system where women are not allowed to work or drive or leave the country or get health care without the approval of a son or a father or a husband. And yet you see those cases where they have that 50% STEM graduation rate. So you might consider that perhaps more women are going into engineering in those countries because they recognize that if they have the opportunity to go into engineering, they need to seize it, because it could be so easily taken from them, or they need a good job to support themselves, because if they happen to end up with a shitty husband, they are in a very bad place. Whereas compare that to like a Sweden, in your example, where you have much less women graduating from engineering. That could be because the women feel confident that the arts are supported so that they can go into arts without fear of being impoverished, and that they don't have this fear of needing to seize the day and grab the bull by the horns and get into engineering to have any respect, because they feel confident that they will still be respected even as a teacher or even as a psychologist. I think that just looking at the numbers of, elected officials or people graduating in certain majors, is not at all the whole story.
Yeah, like the numbers don't tell the context. Basically,
Yeah.
You can't just look at the numbers and say, "Oh, we should oppress women more, then they'll be graduating more." No, it's just
Yeah.
not how it
No,
works.
it doesn't work. No.
Yeah, so correlation doesn't lead to causation, I guess.
Yeah.
Is basically what I'm trying to say. Anyways.
Interesting statistic. I thought I read somewhere recently that female programmers, specifically female game programmers, are only like 1% of the industry or something crazy like that. It's probably a wrong statistic, but it was interesting.
You're the 1%. You're a 1%er.
I know.
I mean,
different kind of 1%.
like,
though.
Yeah.
it's the same as the example I gave earlier. Like Eastern Europe, for example, like there's a much higher percentage of female game developers and programmers, but in like America and Britain, it's like close to the bottom for some reason. So,
well,
like in Poland, it might be like 30-40% or something. So,
yeah, well, it's really so that article we read, which nobody listening has read, probably read the article, but we can link to it. One thing she said really resonated with me. It's that the company in the article, Riot Games, they advertise themselves as being a meritocracy. The idea that the best will rise to the top, and that if they are at the top, they deserve to be there, and if you're not at the top, maybe you didn't deserve to be there, which is fine in theory, except there's the culture of you have to be loud, and you have to be forward, and you have to be, say it like it is, and a go-getter. And a lot of those things, a lot of it's very exclusionary to women. So women are often socialized to be quiet. Don't interrupt people. Don't get people mad. For God's sake, don't get men mad. Because men who are mad do things to hurt you. So no, they don't interrupt in the meetings. They don't call you out on your bullshit. And when they do, you call them a bitch. So it's like it's a rock and hard place. Or like places I've worked, there was things like, oh, well, only the real ambitious go-getters, get this job, and, women don't get it because they're not ambitious go-getters, and, or, the women leave before 8 o'clock at night because they want to just, go home and live another life, and, so, I don't know, it's just, there's this idea that the merit worth promoting is the merit that a lot of times is only really exhibited by men. Like, they frame that masculine ideal as, like, this is the goal to aspire to, I guess. And they think they're being objective, they think it's gender neutral, but it's really not.
Yeah, even as an example for men, it's bad, like toxic masculinity.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so, we're going to have to fix a lot of things over the next 50, 60 years, I think.
I would be very impressed if it gets fixed over 50, 60 years.
Yeah. Probably it'll take like 200. I mean, there's that quote by MLK where it says the moral arc of the universe like bends toward righteousness.
I hope so.
It bends, but it's not exactly like a straight line. It's kind of a long curving road. So.
It also goes up and down a lot, depending on where you are in the world and what point of history you are.
Yeah,
so, we'll see.
Exactly. But yeah, it was great having you talk about this subject because it's something that I'm sort of passionate about, social justice stuff, but I'm also like a guy, so I have my blind spots. I'm sure I've made like tons of mistakes in my life, and so like talking to women is just helpful in like opening your eyes or like seeing those blind spots so you can cover them. So
yeah, well, thank you for having me, and thank you for being patient while I stood on my soapbox.
No, that's one thing we don't want to do is interrupt people.
Perfect note to end on.
Yeah. All right, it was great talking to you, and we'd love to have you back at some point.
Thank you. I like talking to you too.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Bye.
Bye.